Hey guys, tonight we slip beneath the rotting foliage and slosh into the shadows of the Amazon, where the air sticks to your skin like wet cobwebs and the ground breathes under your belly. Somewhere in this steaming green maze, in a muddy nest half flooded with rain and muck, you're being born, only you don't know it yet. All you know is that the world is cramped, wet, and writhing with bodies just like yours, because you're a giant anaconda hatchling. And before you even get the chance to stretch out your brand new coils, something horrible is already sniffing around. Your mother. Yes, welcome to the family. She's about 200 pounds of raw muscle, 25 feet of coiled instinct, and completely devoid of maternal instinct. You'd think a creature this massive and majestic might show a sliver of compassion, but nope, Mama's hungry, and her idea of a post-birth snack, you, or one of your siblings. She doesn't discriminate. There's no bonding, no nuzzling, no soft hiss of affection. There's just a big pair of jaws and a twitch in her stomach. So you've just emerged from your leathery egg, you're blind, barely breathing, and the very first thing you experience is panic, and hunger, and the terrifying realization that your mom, the life giver, is also your first predator. Good luck processing that with your golf ball-sized brain. Scientists believe this behavior, though rare, is most often a product of stress, territory loss, or pure survival instinct. If the surrounding swamp has been depleted of prey, or if Mama Anaconda needs a quick protein hit to recover from pregnancy, she'll turn to the easiest source of calories, her own young. It's not exactly personal, it's opportunistic. But that's cold comfort when your 3-foot noodle body is trying to squirm behind a log to avoid becoming a sausage link in Mom's digestive pipeline. Now here's a fun little side note. Some fringe herpetologists have speculated that this cannibalism might serve as a kind of natural selection booster, thinning the weakest of the clutch. But others argue it's just hunger, plain and simple. After all, there's no baby book morality in the jungle. Just calories, instincts, and the constant grind of eat or be eaten. Meanwhile, the nest isn't just your mum's buffet, it's a death lottery. Around 30 to 70 of you, hatched in this same patch of hell. The first ones out might scurry into the underbrush or slip into the water, if they're lucky. But for those who hatch a few hours late, they wake up to find the family reunion already turned into a murder mystery dinner party. The air is heavy with ammonia and decomposition. Flies swarm the damp leaf litter. Somewhere nearby, a capybara screams in the distance, then goes abruptly silent. And here you are, a slimy scale-wrapped spaghetti strand with zero life experience, and no one to help you. Not even your siblings. Especially not your siblings, actually, but we'll get to that. For now you do what every anaconda hatchling does, you bolt, not in the athletic, powerful, elegant way of your future self. No, more like a frantic wiggling panic worm, slipping into a shallow pool that stinks of decay and mosquito larvae. It's a terrible hiding spot, but it's away from Mom's jaws. For now that's a win. Here's where the biological trivia sneaks in like a snake in the grass. Giant anacondas, Eunectes marinus, don't lay eggs like most reptiles. Instead they give live birth. Those leathery sacs you hatched from, technically still inside her, until she pushes each one out, fully formed and squirming. It's called ovoviparity. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but hey, you've got more pressing problems than terminology, like staying alive for more than an hour, because if your mom doesn't eat you, something else probably will. A stork, a caiman, a giant otter with a bad attitude and sharper teeth than a hardware store. Even a particularly determined fish might take a bite. You, young noodle, are on literally everyone's menu, and your defenses, practically non-existent. You can't hiss, you can't strike, you can barely even swim straight. Your camouflage is your only real asset. Green and brown splotches designed to mimic the dappled light of the swamp, which is helpful if you stay still. But fear makes you twitch, twitching makes ripples, and ripples, they get noticed. Somewhere above, a black-crowned night heron stalks across the shallows on stilt legs. It hears the splash, it turns, you freeze. The jungle hushes for half a breath, and then the bird stabs into the water, too far to your left. You slip deeper into the muck, heart hammering in your ribless chest. If you make it past day one, you're already ahead of 90% of your clutch. That's right. Most of your siblings won't survive their first 24 hours. In fact, only a tiny fraction will ever make it to adulthood. Some estimates suggest fewer than 1 in 20. It's not that nature's cruel exactly, it's just efficient. Resources are limited, predators are plenty, and only the sneakiest survive. So now, as the sun finally claws its way through the thick canopy and glints off your muddy, snot-covered body, you feel the first tingle of hunger. You've burned through whatever energy you had stored from your embryonic development, and your next challenge, beyond not being eaten, is figuring out how to eat. And what's on the menu for a baby anaconda, you ask? Pretty much anything smaller than your face. But first you need to find it, and you need to stay alive long enough to swallow it. Because out here, in the reeking green pit of life and death where you were just born, your story is only just beginning, and it already sucks. The swamp doesn't sleep, and neither do your siblings. Remember how you thought your mother was your biggest threat? Well, she's gone now, slithered off into the thick undergrowth, either full or frustrated. But don't celebrate yet, because the real nightmare is just beginning. You're now trapped with dozens of other baby anacondas, and the uncomfortable truth is, they're hungry too. See, sibling love isn't really a thing when you're a reptile. There's no family bond, no shared bedtime, no group hug. The only rule is whoever's bigger eats first. And in this green hellscape, the size difference between hatchlings can be the margin between predator and prey. One of your clutch mates, about 6 inches longer than you and born maybe 2 hours earlier, is slithering your way. He's got that twitchy, jerky motion, part curiosity, part calculation. To him, you're protein wrapped in scales. Your camouflage helps, sure, but your tiny breath, your slight movement, your scent, all betray you. In a normal family, size difference might mean hand-me-downs or being picked last for sports. But here, it means you might end up being inhaled tail first by someone who shared the same womb. And yes, it happens. Juvenile cannibalism among anacondas is real. It's not frequent, but it's frequent enough that some scientists have begun tracking clutch mortality due to intra-sibling predation, which is the polite way of saying your brother ate your face. You're barely 2 feet long, your muscles are like cooked noodles, and you've never hunted a thing in your life. Meanwhile, your larger siblings, especially those who were lucky enough to gulp down a frog or two, already feel the primal pull of dominance. Nature doesn't wait for you to grow up. It kicks you in the fangs and tells you to get on with it, or get out of the gene pool. Some biologists still debate whether this early aggression is instinctual or learned. One camp argues that even baby snakes can recognize weakness and opportunity. Another camp suggests it's all just random thrashing in a sensory overloaded environment. Accidental cannibalism. Either way, the result is the same: fewer mouths in the swamp. So you flee again, dragging your half-formed muscles through water thick with algae and the dissolving remnants of crushed eggs. You wedge yourself under a floating log, your body half submerged, nose just above the surface. You don't move for hours, because you've realized that in this game of survival, motion equals death. Let's talk numbers for a moment. A single female anaconda can give birth to anywhere from 20 to 80 babies in a season, but only 2 or 3 might reach maturity. Why? Because you're all born into a trap. No parental guidance, no food provided, no shelter, just a muddy battleground where your own clutchmates might be your first and last rivals. Still, you're one of the lucky ones. Your instincts are sharp, and your body is beginning to respond to the signals of fear, hunger, and cold. You coil tighter now, conserving warmth as the swamp's temperature dips. Cold-blooded means you're a slave to the sun, and right now it's blocked by a cloud bank of doom. Here comes your first real challenge: nightfall. Night in the Amazon isn't silent, it roars. Frogs croak like broken speakers, insects whine with engine-like persistence, and somewhere not too far away, something screams, not an echo, something real, something dying, or killing. You tremble, not from emotion, but from physiology. Cold stiffens your muscles, your breathing slows, your metabolism crawls, you're on the verge of torpor, basically reptilian standby mode. But you don't get to power down in peace, because as your heartbeat slows, a nearby hatchling is not so lucky. A splash, a hiss, a wet thump, and then silence. You don't know which sibling it was, but he's gone now. Something snatched him. Could have been a crab-eating raccoon. Could have been one of those monstrous fish that look like living fossils. Could have been an older snake just cruising the shallows for dessert. In the swamp, anything larger than you is a problem, and everything is larger than you. It's a miracle you even made it out of the birth pile. Most hatchlings are picked off within hours. Some die from exposure, others from hunger, and a decent number from those sibling skirmishes we mentioned. It's not just brutal, it's expected. There's a fringe theory floating around in herpetology circles that anacondas evolved these large clutches, not because they expect many to survive, but because they expect most to die. It's a numbers game, a gruesome high-stakes lottery, where the currency is life, and the prize is adulthood. You curl tighter under your log, listening to the world hum, hiss and throb around you. The mud clings to your belly, a beetle crawls across your snout. You don't twitch, you can't afford to. Later, if you live, you'll learn how to hunt frogs and fish. You'll start to understand how your body works, how to move silently, how to time a strike. But right now, you're just trying not to be noticed. You're trying to survive your own family. And that right there is the first real heartbreak of being born a giant anaconda. No allies, no pack, no pride, no siblings, no parents, just you, your fear, and the shadows. So now you're alone, which, believe it or not, is a good thing. But let's be clear, alone doesn't mean safe. It just means you've temporarily escaped being chewed on by your relatives. The swamp is still watching, listening, hungering. You've crawled your pathetic little noodle body into a quiet pocket of reeds, barely the length of a ruler, and you're already panting like an exhausted athlete. You don't even know what adrenaline is, but your entire system is bathed in it. And now, it hits you. Hunger. A dull ache at first, then sharper, then consuming. Your body screams for fuel, but you have no idea what food looks like, how to catch it, or how to avoid being the food yourself. Congratulations. You're in one of the deadliest baby phases in the entire animal kingdom. You scan the still water ahead, a flicker of movement, something small and twitchy, a froglet, too big to ignore, too fast to catch. But your instincts kick in. You freeze, you wait, you watch. This is your first lesson in hunting, and it's going to go terribly. You lunge, you miss, you lunge again, you miss harder. You slam your head into a muddy root, and get tangled in a lily stem for 10 miserable seconds while the frog casually bounces away like he has errands to run. It's embarrassing, but not unexpected. Baby anacondas suck at hunting. For weeks, you'll survive mostly on bugs, tadpoles, and the occasional lucky grab. If you're lucky, your strikes are slow, your aim is tragic, and your digestive system, basically a cranky toddler, eats something too big, and it might rot inside you before you finish digesting. That's right, your dinner could kill you from the inside out. Still, the frog's escape has left you agitated. You haven't eaten since birth, and that was just the yolk you absorbed from your egg. You're running on fumes, and your tiny body, though designed for greatness, is starting to wither. It doesn't help that you're cold again. The sun has shifted, and without direct heat, your metabolism crashes. You're a solar-powered murder noodle, and right now the battery is dead. So you haul yourself up onto a mossy root, expose your back to the filtered sunlight, and try to recharge. Let's talk biology while you warm up. Giant anacondas are ectothermic, cold-blooded, so they can't regulate internal temperature like mammals. They depend entirely on the environment. Sun means movement, digestion, survival. Shade means sluggishness, vulnerability, and eventually death. And the Amazon, it's not a tanning salon. It's a dense, dripping canopy where the light is filtered through 5 layers of leaves, vines, mist, and the general moodiness of the rainforest. Finding a sunny patch is like finding free Wi-Fi in a basement. It exists, but it's rare and inconsistent. Now here's a fringe tidbit for you. Some researchers believe that juvenile anacondas will sometimes climb low shrubs to bask, Not high, just enough to lift themselves above the cold water film. The behavior hasn't been widely observed, so it's still debated. But if it's true, it means even at this early stage, you're adapting in clever ways just to make it through the next hour. But again, clever doesn't mean safe, because while you're basking, a shadow glides under the surface, a caiman, not a full-grown one, that would be too quick a death. This guy's juvenile too, maybe a meter long, still big enough to take your head off in one bite. And unlike you, he knows exactly how to hunt. You spot the ripple just in time and flop backward into the mud, heart jackhammering. You slide beneath the water, hold your breath, and pray your scales don't glint. Caimans are visual hunters, and they're faster than you, smarter too. You hold still, 1 minute, 2, your lungs burn, your tail twitches, then movement, a splash, not at you, somewhere else. He's gone. You exhale into the muck, releasing a stream of foul bubbles. Your body unclenches. You survived, barely. You've been alive for less than 3 days, and already you've survived sibling cannibalism, maternal neglect, starvation, and your first near-death encounter with a fellow reptile. And no one is clapping, no one is helping. There's no milestone sticker that says day 3, didn't die, just more jungle, more hunger, more wetness, always wetness. Your scales are waterlogged, your belly is coated in leech slime, and your instincts are screaming that night is coming again. And with night comes the herons, the long-legged, needle-beaked, salad fork-wielding demons of dusk. They hunt in silence, they stab without warning, they don't even chew, they just skewer and swallow. One gulp, one squirm, one death, and they love baby snakes. Scientists once dissected a heron and found the remains of 7 snake hatchlings inside its crop. 7, that's more siblings than you could name, and each one probably thought they were hidden, that they were safe. No such thing here. So you do the only thing you can. You move, back to the water, back to the sludge. You push your body through the liquid rot of dead leaves and drowned insects. You disappear into the soup, and you hope the swamp forgets about you for one more night. The Amazon never forgives a slow learner. And right now, you are very much a slow learner. You're learning how to be invisible. Not just still, but gone. Learning to flatten your body so tightly against the mud that even the shadows lose track of you. You're learning that the water you hide in isn't just camouflage, it's a medium of betrayal. It carries your scent, your ripples, your heat. It's a tattletale with no loyalty. And above all, you're learning this. Everything wants to kill you. Let's go over your current list of enemies, just to really drive it home. You've got herons, caimans, frogs the size of your head, raccoons with human fingers and human malice, otters with military precision, and even certain species of jungle cats that'll swat you just to see what happens. You're basically a moving snack pack. But it gets worse, because today you slither toward a new patch of cover, only to hear a sound you haven't yet learned to fear. Buzzing, high, whining, infernal buzzing. Mosquitoes. Hundreds of them. They don't want to eat you, they want to drink you. They land on your eyelids, your nostrils, your tongue. You try to jerk away, but the mud suctions your belly like a cursed vacuum. The mosquitoes feast. And unlike the heron, they don't kill you, they just drain you, slowly, patiently, with maddening persistence. Eventually you escape, but you're left itching, oozing, miserable. And that's not just irritation, that's disease. Mosquitoes here don't carry your run-of-the-mill swamp flu. No, they bring with them parasites, microfilaria, bloodworms, and all manner of invisible horrors. Scientists still debate the full extent of mosquito-borne parasites in wild anacondas. Captive studies show clear vulnerability, but in the wild, it's an open question. You're part of the data set now. Congrats. So you're bruised, itchy, and starving. You retreat to your soggy hiding spot and coil in defeat. You're starting to understand the shape of your world. It's not a food chain, it's a death web. And you're wrapped up in the lower corner like a dusty snack someone forgot to throw out. At least there's one small blessing. You're getting bigger. Not by much, but you're growing. That first frog you swallowed a few days ago, it's finally digested. You've got a little more mass, a little more speed. You're not a baby anymore. You're a toddler with fangs. And that's when you meet your next existential crisis. You can't leave the swamp. You didn't ask for this. You didn't sign a lease. But here you are, in the same few square meters of half-flooded forest you were born in. And you'll stay here for weeks, months, sometimes years. Not because you like it, but because your body says you must. Your muscles are designed for water. Your weight, what little you have, is already dense and heavy. On land your movement is slow, sluggish, like dragging a wet rope through gravel. On land you're awkward. In the water you're a whisper, and so you're stuck in this mosquito-infested, predator-crammed, oxygen-poor puddle that you call home. Scientists often refer to anacondas as aquatic ambush predators, but let's break that down. Aquatic, yes, you'll spend 90% of your life submerged or semi-submerged. Ambush, sort of. You don't exactly plan, you lurk, you wait, you hope. Predator, eventually. Right now you're still on the menu more often than you're the chef. Still, the swamp gives you one advantage: temperature regulation. The water holds heat better than air. When the forest gets chilly in the early morning mist, the muddy pool becomes your thermal blanket. That's critical, because your internal systems are still pathetic. Your digestion, your reflexes, even your eyesight all depend on external temperature. Cold equals sign dysfunction, warmth equals sign power, but power has its price, because the warmer the water, the more other predators it attracts. Like electric eels, yes, those are real, and they are not cartoons. One jolt from a mature one could shut your baby heart down in under a second. And then there are the piranhas, not the exaggerated movie kind, the real kind, the sneaky, patient kind, the ones that wait until you're wounded, then nibble you apart like a buffet with scales. You once watched a dead turtle disappear in under 2 minutes. No screaming, just bubbles, then bones. So you stay hidden, always. You're evolving a pattern of behavior now, one that will shape your life. Wake, lurk, strike, miss, flee, breathe, wait, digest, and occasionally, if you're really lucky, swallow something that won't fight back. You don't know it, but your heart is already changing, literally. In anacondas, the heart can shift slightly in position during digestion, to allow for more flexibility and accommodate large prey. It's not a metaphor, it's your reality. Even your organs are learning to contort, bend, twist and survive, but you're still weak, still beatable, still wet, and still stuck in this swamp that never forgives a misstep. You wake with a start, if you can even call it sleep. It's more like drifting between layers of cold water, hunger dreams and fear, but something's different today. Your stomach isn't just empty, it's furious. A slow, burning void that threatens to turn inward and start digesting your own organs. That's not poetic exaggeration, it's an actual risk. Starved anacondas have been known to begin catabolizing their own muscle tissue when energy reserves bottom out. Your body's starting to cannibalize itself. So today, the rule changes. No more waiting, no more hiding, you must eat. And this time, you succeed. It's small, an unfortunate fishling, less than half your length, sluggish, wounded, drifting wrong. You spot the twitch, strike with all the grace of a drunk garden hose, and by some miracle, your jaws catch it behind the gills, and then, the swallowing begins. If you've never watched a snake eat, let's explain how deeply cursed the process is. First, you unhinge your jaw, not like popping it loose, but stretching each side independently. You begin the slow, tooth-locked procession down the length of the prey, your muscles working like a fleshy conveyor belt. It's not elegant, it's violent, it's wet, it looks like a reverse birth, and the fish is still twitching halfway through. You don't chew, you don't kill it neatly, you just wait for its struggle to end somewhere halfway down your throat. It dies slowly, and it dies inside you. Grim, yes, but in the Amazon, empathy is expensive. That meal will last you days, maybe a week. You feel your strength return, your coils tighten. You're beginning to feel like something more than bait, which is exactly when the jungle reminds you who you really are. You're basking on a sunlit rock, rare luxury. When the surface shifts beneath you, something's under the water. You don't see it, you feel it. Then a violent splash, and you're airborne, slammed, twisted, yanked. A crocodilian snout, as long as your body has just grabbed you mid-bask, and is now performing one of nature's most metal finishing moves, the death roll. It's exactly what it sounds like. The caiman spins, its jaws locked on your midsection, whipping you in circles until your spine bends like a wet sock. You squeal, a sound you didn't know you could make, and flail wildly, but you're no match. And then luck, pure, undeserved luck. The caiman's grip slips. Maybe your skin was too slick, or maybe it misjudged its bite. Either way, you slam into a submerged log and disappear, ragged, torn, and bleeding into the water like a cracked bag of soup. You survive, but barely. You hide under that log for 2 days. No movement, no food, no light, just breathing, slow, careful. And in that darkness, something changes. Your body begins to heal, but it's your mind that mutates. You begin to understand the rhythm of this place, the way the ripples betray movement, the sounds that mean danger, the temperature shifts that precede storms. You're not just reacting anymore, you're learning. This is the swamp school, and the curriculum is brutal. 1 bite at a time, 1 inch at a time, 1 breath at a time. You're transforming. You're not strong yet, but you are aware, and that's the beginning of power. Now, as night falls again, you move deliberately. You no longer panic when the leaves rustle, or the frogs croak, or the sky cracks open with thunder. You expect chaos. You live in it. You are it. Still, danger never disappears. In fact, one of your biggest future threats is lurking right now, and you don't even know it. Humans, not with machetes, not yet, but with cameras. Because deep in the brush, a wildlife team has picked up heat signatures, and their drones are watching, logging your movements, admiring your pattern, hoping to track your growth. It sounds harmless, even flattering, but one day, those cameras will turn to traps, and if you survive long enough to get big, really big, you'll become a myth, a headline, a trophy, and that is its own kind of curse. But for now, you remain anonymous. You slip through the water, ribs bruised, pride non-existent, but alive. You've passed another test. You're a baby swamp god in the making, and no one claps for gods until they're monsters. You'd think that after surviving crocodile roulette, sibling betrayals, and your own near-death dinner date, the universe might cut you a break. It doesn't, because being a young anaconda isn't just about avoiding death. It's about being death, eventually, maybe, someday, and that someday begins now, because your body is changing again, slowly, methodically. You're shedding your skin. This isn't a cute makeover montage. It's miserable. Your old skin doesn't peel off like a sticker. It rips, it flakes, it clings to your jaw, it blinds your eyes. For days your vision turns to milky blur. You can't see your own tongue, let alone the clawed thing sneaking up behind you. Your scent becomes stronger, fouler, more noticeable to predators. You're vulnerable again, and this time, you smell like an open invitation. Let's break this down. Snakes shed to grow. That part's common knowledge. But what's less talked about is how dangerous that process is. For an anaconda, the first few sheds are trial by fungus, infection, and panic. If the shed doesn't come off fully, it can cut circulation. If it peels wrong, it can trap parasites underneath. If it blinds you too long, you're a soft taco for jungle opportunists. Some snakes in the wild die simply because they couldn't complete a clean shed. The Amazon doesn't care if you're having a bad molt. No one's pausing the food chain because your face itches. And yes, it does itch, from the inside. Meanwhile, your mouth is constantly dry, your tongue flicks slower, even your heat-sensing pits are thrown off. You're like a fighter pilot flying blind, in the rain, during an earthquake, with no parachute. Here's a lovely detail. Some fringe researchers believe that shedding episodes are tied to memory development in reptiles, meaning This might be the first time your brain actually records a long-term memory. And what's your first memory? Blindness, itching, and being hunted. Perfect. So now, half blind, and covered in your own dissolving outer layer, you're just trying to find a rough rock to scrape against anything to help get the skin off. You squirm against bark, you rub your jaw on mossy roots, you slam your body into sticks, and all the while, you're bleeding tiny amounts from your lips and nostrils, because that's just how delicate your face is during this mess. But eventually, miraculously, it works. The old skin peels away in long slimy spirals, like a cursed fruit roll-up, and beneath it, shinier scales, sharper contrast, better camouflage, slightly better vision. You've leveled up, barely. Now finally, you're ready to attempt something new, a real kill, not a worm, not a dying fish, but an actual living struggling vertebrate. You spot your mark, a juvenile rodent at the water's edge. It's cocky, distracted, grooming its face with little paws like it owns the swamp. It doesn't see you, it doesn't hear you, but it feels you. Half a second too late, your body strikes, not with grace, but with enough speed to matter. You miss the head, but coil instantly. The rodent squeals, claws, bites, but you're not letting go. This is your first constriction, your first real taste of what you'll one day be feared for. It lasts 20 seconds, then silence. You don't celebrate, you swallow. And this time, the swallowing feels different, not easier, just right. This is what you were made for. And for a moment, just a moment, you feel something like pride. But pride is a dangerous luxury in the Amazon, because not far from you, something watched the whole thing. A jaguar, full grown, yellow eyes in the reeds, its body low, breathing shallow. It saw your kill, it's seen your pattern, it knows where you bask. It will wait. That's the thing about this place. You're never alone, you're always being watched. Even when you're rising, becoming more than prey, more than baby meat, something else is already ahead of you, already hungry, already waiting to remind you of your place. But for now, you live, and in this swamp, that is the closest thing to a victory. Growth, in the jungle, is just another kind of risk. You're longer now, maybe 5 feet. Your coils are thicker, your strikes more precise, and your hunger deeper than ever. But the more you grow, the more visible you become. The shadows that once hid your hatchling body now betray you. The water parts differently when you move. The birds scream louder when you surface. Even the frogs start giving you the side eye, like they know you're no longer just another leaf floating by. And the irony, you're still starving. See, growing this fast takes fuel, a lot of it. Your body is a biological furnace, and it's devouring every calorie you can shove down your gullet. But your prey hasn't scaled up with your size. Frogs are now appetizers. Small fish barely register. You need mammals. You need birds. You need meals that fight back. That's a whole new tier of suffering, because when you do finally catch something worth the trouble, say, a ground-dwelling bird caught napping in the reeds, you discover that prey with claws, beaks, or teeth don't go quietly. Your second bird kill is a disaster. You strike from the water, coiling fast, but the bird thrashes in panic, slicing at your eye with one talon. The pain is instant. White hot, you recoil, vision half blinded, and the bird limps away bleeding, but alive. You, meanwhile, are bleeding too, and now your open wound is oozing into a swamp, teeming with bacteria. Remember how you thought eating was the hard part? No, the digesting is the real war. Giant anacondas digest their prey over days, sometimes weeks, and during that time, they're vulnerable, slow, immobile, and worse, gassy. That dead animal in your gut ferments, bloats, and sends waves of internal heat surging through your body. Your metabolism spikes. You bask to stay warm enough to keep digesting, but bask too long and predators find you. It's a balancing act between starvation and assassination. And your injuries, those take time to heal. But there's no jungle pharmacy, no time out, just infection and hope. This is where many young anacondas die, not from direct attack, but from what comes after. A poorly aimed strike, a scratch from a rodent, a cut from a beak, all small things. Until the bacteria move in, scientists have documented countless wild reptiles succumbing not to trauma, but to rot, jaw rot, belly rot, mouth ulcers, internal necrosis. Your immune system isn't designed for mercy, it's designed for odds. And the odds aren't good. Let's shift gears for a moment. Remember how we said your body's adapting? Well, one of the biggest changes you're undergoing now is ambition. Your brain is making connections. You start to learn which bird calls mean danger, which rustles are just wind, and which mean a hoofed animal is nearby. You don't know the names, but you know the vibrations. Capybaras. You can smell them before you see them. They move in herds, thick with scent and opportunity. They're too big for you now. But one day, you feel it. One day, that's the first time you realize your hunger has evolved into something more. It's no longer just find food or die. It's grow, dominate, devour. You are not trying to survive anymore. You're preparing to take the throne. But the swamp doesn't crown kings easily. Your environment is still hellish. The rains return with a vengeance, flooding your den. You nearly drown in your sleep as the water level surges overnight. You wake up thrashing, mouth full of debris, nostrils clogged with mud, and as you slither to higher ground, you're met by a surprise. Another young anaconda, about your size, maybe a bit bigger, and very, very hungry. There's a stare, a pause, a moment of reptilian calculation, and then you both strike, not for food, for dominance. It's clumsy, angry, brutal. You wrap around each other in a tangled knot of muscle, slime, and rage. You don't know why you're fighting, you just are. Because there's only room for one apex predator here, and neither of you plans on relocating. The fight ends in a draw. You separate, battered, bruised, bleeding from the lip. Your opponent slinks off in the opposite direction. You don't follow. You're too tired. But something's different now. For the first time, you defended your territory, not because it was safe, but because it was yours. And deep down you realize, you're not a baby anymore. You're a predator in training. Maturity doesn't come with a party hat out here. It comes with bone pain, stretch marks, and your jaw clicking every time you try to eat something bigger than your head. You're nearly 6 feet long now. Still not fearsome, but you're entering what herpetologists call the subadult phase. Translation: you're not a baby, but you're still not big enough to command respect, or territory, or safety. What you are now is a target for everyone, including other anacondas. Because here comes mating season, and it's about to get weird. The signs arrive subtly. The water smells different. A sour musk, a kind of musky cologne for reptiles. You're not sure why it pulls at your brain, but it does. Instinct overrides logic. Hormones flood your system. You don't even know what mating is, but suddenly you want to move toward this chemical chaos, like it owes you rent money. You slither through swamp, guided by pheromones, until you find her, a female. And not just any female, massive, twice your length, 3 times your weight, a living meat rope of prehistoric power. She doesn't speak, she doesn't invite, she just exists, and you're not the only one who found her. There are others, 6 males, maybe more, all weaving, slithering, piling over each other, like cold-blooded spaghetti. Welcome to the breeding ball. It's not romantic, it's not poetic, it's not even particularly organized. It's just dozens of testosterone-blinded noodles wrapping themselves around a single female, like she's the last extension cord in a blackout. And you join in. You can't not. Your instincts force you into the tangle. You wrap your body into the mass, pressed against slime and scales and things you'd rather not identify. You constrict, you thrust, you shove. No one acknowledges you. No one sees you. You are just one desperate strand in the knot. This can last days, literally days. Mating balls have been observed persisting for up to 2 weeks in the wild. Males compete by sheer endurance. Whoever lasts the longest, coils the tightest, aligns just right, he wins. The rest, they slither away sore, defeated, and sometimes missing chunks of skin. And here's the kicker, you probably won't win. Because you're small, not puny, but not dominant either. Bigger males are wrapping tighter. They've done this before. They know the rhythm, the timing, the positioning. You're just here for the trauma. Worse, the female might not even care. She'll mate with one, maybe two males. Then she'll vanish into the jungle, like a slippery queen. The rest of you, left behind in a puddle of regret and bruises. You slither away days later, exhausted, broken, and utterly unsure what just happened. And that's when it hits you. Being male in the Anaconda world sucks. You don't guard nests. You don't raise young. You don't even mate that often. Most male anacondas will only successfully breed once or twice in their lives, if they're lucky, and many don't survive the breeding ball at all. There's even documented evidence of sexual cannibalism in anacondas. Sometimes the female, larger, stronger, and entirely uninvested in aftercare, will turn around and eat one of her suitors, and he lets her. Because his system is so flooded with mating hormones that he doesn't resist. That could have been you. You're not sure if you're relieved or disappointed. Scientists are still arguing over the evolutionary logic behind this. One theory suggests that the sacrificed male becomes nourishment for the gestating female, ensuring stronger offspring. Another claims it's just opportunism. Big snake sees small snake, decides she's hungry. Either way, you leave with your dignity shredded, and your scales half missing. You've survived childhood. You've tasted combat. You've failed at love. And now, you must slink back into the mud, alone again, to recover, digest your shame, and maybe, just maybe, grow big enough that next time, someone notices you in the pile. But for now, the jungle doesn't care. It just keeps humming, rotting, and rolling forward. The rain doesn't fall here. It slams. And when it comes, it doesn't ask for permission. The jungle becomes a different beast in the wet season. The rivers rise, the trails vanish, and the forest floor, which once served as your camouflage-cloaked hunting ground, drowns beneath 3 feet of surging brown water. You wake up one morning, if you can even tell when morning begins, and your den is gone, washed out. The log you curled under, floating downstream, the rock you basked on, submerged. Even the smells have changed. Everything smells like mold and flood and panic. Now, you have to swim for your life. Not slither. Swim, and lucky you're decent at it. Anacondas are phenomenal swimmers. Your body, built like a muscular ribbon, ripples through the floodwaters with alarming grace. You can stay submerged for over 10 minutes. You can breathe through your snout while the rest of your body waits patiently beneath the surface. If this were just a swimming contest, you'd be the Olympic gold medalist of the Amazon, but it's not. Because the flood brings more than just water. It brings competition. Every predator that couldn't hunt on land, now swimming. Caimans, otters, jaguars. Even animals that wouldn't normally interact with you are now brushing past you like it's rush hour in a submerged subway. There's no territory anymore. No hiding place. Just a floating chaos of snouts, teeth, tails, and desperation. You manage to take down a lizard clinging to a branch, a small victory. But while digesting, you notice a problem. Your breathing gets harder. You surface slower. You feel bloated, uncomfortable, hot. Your body is reacting badly to the flooded environment. Maybe it's stress. Maybe it's a parasite. Maybe it's a rotting rat carcass you bumped into during a swim. Doesn't matter. The result is the same. You're sick. And here's where it gets grim. Snakes don't get colds. They get systemic infections, fast, with no immune-boosting soup or a cozy blanket to crawl under. Your best option is to find heat and stay in it. So you drag your weakened body onto a half-flooded tree trunk and coil there for hours, hoping the tropical sun breaks through the thick storm clouds, hoping the rising temperature in your blood can cook whatever hellspawn bacteria is brewing inside you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Many young anacondas die during the flood season, not from drowning but from internal failure, digestive blockages, parasite overload, organ shutdown from unmanaged stress. The jungle doesn't stab you with a knife. It melts you from the inside. But you hold on. Your scales peel in strips. Your tongue flickers weaker. Your vision blurs, but you hold on, until the flood recedes. And finally, you touch solid earth again. It's soggy, it's muddy, but it's earth. And it's enough. You've survived your first full year, maybe longer. You've doubled in size. You've eaten birds, fish, mammals. You've battled rivals. You've failed at love. You've watched your siblings die. You've been blind, hunted, sick, and nearly digested from the inside out. And now you lie in the muck, half covered in moss, surrounded by the scent of decay and blooming fungi, and you breathe. Slow, deep, like you own the place. You don't, not yet, but you're closer. You've grown into the kind of creature that haunts legends. People in nearby villages speak of shadows in the water, of missing goats, of ripples with no wind, of you. They don't know your name, you don't have one, but you're becoming a shape in their stories. And all you did was not die. That's the Anaconda way. At some point, though you can't say exactly when, you realize something profound. You're not afraid anymore. Not because the threats are gone. Far from it. The jungle is still trying to kill you in new and creative ways every other day. But now, when something splashes nearby, you don't flee. You watch. When a bird lands within striking distance, you calculate. When a jaguar passes through your territory, you hold still, heart slow, muscles tighter than a piano wire. You're not fearless, you're something better aware. And with awareness comes appetite. Your metabolism has adjusted to your size. You no longer need a frog every 2 days. You need a rat every week, maybe a capybara once a month. The size of your prey scales with your ambition. You're no longer the one ducking under leaves. You're the one leaving drag marks in the mud after a kill. But here's the dark twist. Your meals can kill you too. Take this one for example. A small rodent, easy enough to overpower. But the moment your jaws clamp down, the thing fights like it's possessed. Claws rake your gums. It bites down on your tongue. Blood sprays. You flinch. Your grip loosens for a fraction of a second. That's all it takes for the rodent to wriggle free, tear its way out of your coils, and vanish into the reeds, leaving you bleeding from inside the mouth. Let that sink in. You won, and you're still injured. And this is a tiny prey. Imagine what happens when you go for something that actually fights back. Let's say, a young caiman, which you do. One reckless afternoon, your body humming with hunger and misplaced confidence, you coil around the wrong croc. Not a baby, not quite an adult, something in between, something angry. The struggle is legendary. Water flies, mud churns, teeth slash, you nearly lose your eye. Your belly gets raked open, but you hold, you squeeze, you endure. And when it's over, you win. Barely. The caiman goes still, you rest your torn head on its body, and breathe, blood pumping from your nostrils. Victory tastes like iron and filth. You don't eat for a week, not because you're full, but because your insides need time to repair. You are a war machine made of flesh and instinct, and both need maintenance. This is the part no one tells you about being a giant anaconda. It's not all slow motion strikes and epic ambushes. It's scabs. It's hunger hallucinations. It's your own body turning against you. Sometimes literally. Let's talk about internal parasites. Yes, we're going there. Because by now your body's been invaded. You've swallowed enough wild prey that you're hosting a microscopic nightmare. Roundworms in your gut, protozoa in your blood, flukes in your liver. You're not dying. Yet. But your strength wanes more quickly. Your tongue flickers more slowly. Some days your skin dulls. You bask longer. You move less. Scientists debate how parasitized wild anacondas really are. In captivity, they can be treated. In the wild, it's Russian roulette with every meal. And you don't get to say no thanks to an infected frog when you're 3 days past hungry. You endure. That's your entire job now. You don't thrive. You endure. There are no vet visits, no relief, no breaks. Only a body at war with itself, dragging forward through a swamp that doesn't blink. But there are moments. You catch a duckling off the riverbank one dawn. Your body moving like silk. Your strike perfect. You eat it whole, clean, bloodless, you digest it in peace. For the first time in weeks, nothing hurts. You lie in the sun, half submerged, eyes closed, and you dare to dream, not of safety, not of peace, but of power. Because now, you're no longer a prey animal with a name tag that says, "Hello, please eat me." Now, you are the thing that others fear. Not all, not yet, but enough. There's a moment right around the 12-foot mark where everything starts to shift. Prey starts noticing you before you even move. The jungle birds scream at your shadow. Capybaras freeze mid-step and stare like they've just felt a ghost pass by. Even the herons, the same ones that once tried to stab you through the skull, now keep a healthy distance when you emerge from the shallows. You've become something else, not invincible, but undeniable. You're still not the top of the food chain. Jaguars roam the forest floor with murder in their muscles. And humans, well, they'll always be the apex cowards with tools. But most creatures, they fear your ripple, and rightfully so, because now you can kill almost anything smaller than a motorcycle. But of course, this new power comes with a new set of problems. Most notably, your body is now your biggest threat. You are, quite literally, a walking trap. Let's start with weight. At your size, you're pushing 150 pounds of pure coiled muscle. That sounds impressive, until you realize you have no bones in your chest to support that mass when you're on land. Your belly drags, your ribs flex like overworked straws. You're built to glide, not crawl. And the moment you spend too long away from the water, your organs start to protest. The result? You're now tied to the swamp in a way that feels like both a lifeline and a prison sentence. Sure, you can travel over short distances, through dense underbrush, dragging your kilometer of flesh behind you, but not for long, not without paying the price in blood, breath and bruises. This is why so many of your kind die stuck in ditches or stranded on dry patches after floods. They go too far. They overestimate their power. They believe their own legend. You won't make that mistake, because you remember being weak, and you know the jungle doesn't care about your confidence. Even feeding becomes a risk now. Your prey is larger, agotas, caimans, even deer, and with that size comes struggle, not just catching them, swallowing them. This is where it gets anatomical. Your jaws, capable of opening 160 degrees, your ribs, flexible, your throat, lined with muscles that move food downward, no matter how much it fights. But that comes with a digestive gamble. Let's say you catch a capybara. Fantastic. You suffocate it. You stretch your jaws. You get 3/4 of it down. Then something goes wrong. You're disturbed mid-meal. Or worse, the carcass shifts and blocks your trachea. Now you're choking on your dinner, and no one is going to help. You either unhinge and regurgitate a 50-pound half-digested swamp mammal, or you suffocate slowly on a Tuesday afternoon, because you got cocky. This happens more often than people think. There's even a famous case of a wild anaconda found dead with the hindquarters of a deer halfway out its mouth. The deer, still intact. The snake, split open, belly burst, like a bad biology class demonstration. But you're smarter now. You strike faster. You aim better. You know how to test the prey's size before the full commitment. You even fast for weeks, waiting for your gut to clear and your muscles to recover before the next ambush. You're becoming what people whisper about when the river goes quiet. And here's where the jungle throws in a new curveball. Other anacondas. See, you're not the only one growing. There are others, some smaller, some bigger, some male, some female, some angry. And now, territory matters. You've developed what herpetologists politely call site fidelity, which means you tend to stay in a region once you find a reliable food source. But so do others, which leads to encounters, sometimes peaceful, a flick of tongues, a slow retreat. Other times, you fight, coil to coil, bite to bite. It's not flashy, it's not fast, it's deliberate, like two ancient ropes, trying to outlast the other. There are no cheers, no trophies, just teeth marks, bruises, and the satisfaction of being the last one moving. You win some, you lose some, but each one carves a new lesson into your flesh. You're becoming scarred, hardened, a creature not just of instinct, but of memory. And the jungle, it remembers you too. The birds still scream, but now, it's more warning than threat. The monkeys chatter nervously when they see your coil in the water. The capybaras choose new drinking spots. You've carved a shape into the ecosystem, not because you rule it, but because you've survived it. Time drags differently now. You're older, heavier, well past the juvenile phase, and the frantic chaos of survival has begun to slow into something more calculated. You've got rituals now, patterns, places you patrol, logs you trust, rocks you return to. You've even developed preferences, still water over moving, warm stones over damp soil, capybaras over anything too squirmy. But that doesn't mean life has gotten easier, because while the jungle fears you more than it used to, it also tests you harder. Let's start with your new problem. Mass. You are large now, massive. Somewhere between 15 and 18 feet of coiled pressure hose. You're not fast, but you don't need to be. When you move, you shift the forest itself. Birds fly off. Insects go silent. The water ahead ripples like it's trying to warn everyone downstream. He's coming. You've become the creature that parents whisper about when their children wander too close to the riverbank. But your size comes with a curse. It's harder to hide. Your camouflage. Still good, but your bulk means every move cracks branches. Every basking session leaves a spiral print in the mud, the size of a bicycle tire. Even your scent has matured. No longer the faint musk of a young snake, but a pungent, oily presence that drips into the water and tells other animals exactly what you are. And here's where the paranoia sets in. You're being hunted by humans. You don't understand them, but you recognize the pattern. Where their scent appears, the jungle falls quiet. Days later, something's missing. A jaguar den, a grove of capybaras, a bird colony, just gone. Then come the traps. Boxes made of wire, nets half buried in silt. You don't know what they're for. You've never seen one work, but they reek of something foreign, something wrong. And once you watched another anaconda, smaller than you, maybe 10 feet, slide into one. She never came out. That image burned itself into your mind. The way she coiled, confused. The sudden slam of the door. The sound she made. Not fear, but resignation. Like she knew. You avoided that trap. But barely. The scientists who study your kind call this stage of life peak vulnerability to human interaction. It's the age when your body becomes newsworthy. Your length draws curiosity. Your presence becomes legend. And legends, they attract people. Some want to study you, some want to kill you, some just want a selfie. But all of them are dangerous. And here's the twisted part. The more people know about you, the more endangered you become. Conservationists argue about how much attention is too much. Some say awareness helps. Others say it invites exploitation. Meanwhile, you slither through the reeds, just trying to stay unnoticed, because your biggest threats don't hiss, or growl, or slither. They wear boots, carry tools, and smell like gasoline. Still, you have an edge. You're patient. You've outlived your clutch. You've evaded every predator that mattered. You've felt your own muscles tear and regrow. You've digested animals bigger than toddlers, and survived fungal infections that would have killed lesser snakes. And now, your memory has become your most powerful weapon. You remember the trap site. You remember the smell of boats. You remember the sound of twigs snapping in an unnatural rhythm. So you adjust. You bask deeper in the reeds now, just far enough from human paths. You move less. You hunt at dusk. You slide silently through the silt and vanish before anything with eyes can register your shape. The jungle still hums around you, but now, you're part of that hum, a silent, watching thing, a rumor with fangs. And just when you start to believe you've mastered this stage of life, you meet her, another female, bigger, older, scarred. She sees you, you see her, and the rules of the swamp shift again. She doesn't speak. Of course she doesn't. You're snakes. But somehow in the stillness of the swamp, the air thick with rot and heat, Her presence says everything. She is older, much older, easily 20 feet long, coiled like a mythical serpent from some long-forgotten jungle god's bedtime story. Her head alone could swallow yours whole. Scars run down her flank like tribal tattoos carved by time and battle, and her eyes, clouded slightly, yet piercing, lock onto yours, not with hunger, not with hostility, but with assessment. You don't move. Neither does she. There is a quiet understanding in that moment. You are no longer just surviving, you are being noticed. Let's be clear, this is not a mating dance. Not yet. You're not in season. She's not in heat. This isn't the chaotic mess of a breeding ball. This is something rarer. Territorial diplomacy. Large female anacondas, especially those at the top of the food chain, do not tolerate company, especially not from males. Yet here she is, observing, not attacking, not leaving. This is dangerous and fascinating. Biologists still argue whether giant anacondas exhibit territorial behavior. Most data suggests they're solitary, especially females, but there are fringe theories, based on rare quiet observations like this one, that some individuals may allow temporary overlaps, especially when the younger snake is non-threatening, or when food is abundant. You don't challenge her. You don't flee either. You sink a few inches deeper into the water, flatten your coils, and become small in presence, even if your body isn't. She watches a moment longer, and then turns, gone. A whisper through water, and read. No threat, no blood, no conquest. Just gone. But the effect on you is enormous. That encounter burns into your nerves. You spend the rest of the day motionless, your heart tapping out Morse code messages to your brain that you are not ready. Not yet. Not for her world, because that's what she is now. A legend. She doesn't run from caimans. She eats them. She doesn't dodge jaguars. She fights them. She's not hunted. She's documented. You've heard the stories, felt the trembling in the water, when something massive moved in the night, swallowed whole families of capybaras, and left nothing but bones and silence. And now you've met one, and one day, you'll be one, but you're not there yet. That night, you bask longer than usual, letting the stars paint your scales in dull silver. You think about her, about how calm she was, about how old she must be, about how many decades it takes to reach that level of authority. The jungle around you doesn't care about your epiphany. Insects still hum, frogs still chirp, a bat dives past your snout and disappears into the trees. But deep down, something inside you clicks. It's no longer enough to survive. Now you must endure, long enough to become more than myth, more than rumor, long enough to own this swamp. You are not done changing. You are not done growing. You are just beginning the next chapter of what it means to be feared, and it's going to hurt. You're approaching your final form now. 18 feet. Maybe more. 200 pounds of tension coiled beneath the skin. You don't slither anymore. You glide. Your movement doesn't ripple the water. It reshapes it. You've become the kind of shape that triggers alarm calls just by existing. You've grown so large, in fact, that very few things are bold enough to challenge you now. The caimans give you space. Jaguars will stalk, sure, but even they hesitate when they see your trail in the mud, thick and fresh and looping like a river's curve. You are a presence now. And that's when the jungle changes tactics. Because now, your biggest threats come from inside. Let's talk physiology. Your body is pushing biological limits. Your heart, once small and efficient, now strains to circulate blood through a muscular tunnel several meters long. Your lungs, which stretch down the length of your body like inflated stockings, have to work overtime when you're digesting a full-grown mammal. Digestion, by the way, has become an event. You don't eat often anymore. Maybe once a month, maybe less. But when you do, it's a spectacle. A deer, a capybara, a large bird unlucky enough to forget what lives beneath the lily pads. The process takes days. During that time, your body temperature rises. You bask more. You become sluggish, vulnerable. The giant apex predator reduced to a heaving, bloated, half-conscious lump trying not to puke itself to death. Sometimes, the prey rots inside you before it finishes digesting. That happens, and when it does, your body begins to shut down from within. Gas builds, organs swell, your digestive tract becomes a battlefield, and if you're not fast enough to vomit that half-rotted meat log back up, you can die, just like that. It's ironic, isn't it, that at your peak strength, your own hunger becomes your greatest gamble. There are stories, half-confirmed, mostly whispered, of anacondas bursting during digestion, not from injury, from internal pressure. You overestimate your kill, your stomach tears, and the jungle swallows you, no longer a god, just meat in the mud. But still, you eat, because you have to. And after each successful kill, after each long, sweating, gurgling week of digestion, you return, and you are bigger, and more dangerous, and a little closer to her. Yes, her. You haven't seen the giant female since that strange, silent encounter in the reeds, but you remember her shape, her scent, her gravity. You carry it in your blood like an imprint. Every time you pass through the swamp's deeper corners, you wonder, was this hers? Maybe one day she'll come looking, and maybe you'll be ready. But for now, you have one final lesson to learn from this cursed paradise: how to die slowly, because the jungle doesn't give anyone a clean exit. There's no moment of glory, no final roar, no peaceful slipping away beneath the stars. There's just rot and decay, and the slow betrayal of your own body. You begin to feel it on cooler mornings, your movements slower, the tension in your muscles lingering longer than usual, your reflexes just slightly dulled, a mist in your eyes, a stiffness in your jaw. Not yet, but close. And you start to wonder, will you die in battle, or in sleep? Will it be infection, or starvation? Will you be remembered, or will your bones sink into the mud like all the others? You won't know, because even legends don't get to write their endings. The jungle gives no mercy, but it does offer one final reward: anonymity. You, now a giant, coiled titan of the swamp, no longer fight for survival in the way you once did. The world has shifted around you. You're not chased, you're not hunted, not often. And when you move through the water, it's not with panic, but with purpose. The same logs you once hid under now tremble as you pass. But you're tired. You've lived a life that most creatures don't survive past their first hour. You've hunted, you've fought, you've killed and been nearly killed more times than memory allows. You've watched siblings dissolve into bones. You've survived floods, infections, mating balls, and your own mistakes. And now your coils are slow. Your breath is heavy. Still you move. You no longer need to eat often. Your last deer lasted you over a month. But when you do hunt, it's swift and cold. No more flailing, no more panic. Just a silent slip from below, a rapid coil, and stillness. And yet, one morning, something feels different. You rise from your shallow pit. The fog hangs low over the water. A familiar warmth brushes your scales, but your muscles ache more than usual. You haven't eaten in days, but your stomach is quiet, not hungry, just tired. You slither toward your favorite basking spot, a flat, sun-warmed rock draped in moss. You've returned to this stone hundreds of times, each time smaller than the last, each time weaker than the last. You lie there, and you stay. You listen to the jungle hum. You taste the air with your tongue. You close your eyes, and in the stillness, your body cools, your blood slows, your lungs take deeper, longer pauses between breaths. There is no fight, no predator, no wound, only age, only stillness. This is how the jungle takes you, not in violence, not in teeth, but in silence. You won't be found. Your body will sink slowly into the water, claimed by silt and time. Fish will nibble at your skin. Insects will burrow. One day, perhaps years later, a hiker will stumble across a vertebrae fragment and whisper, "It must have been enormous." They'll never know your story. But you do. You were born into cannibalism. You survived betrayal, starvation, infection, and flood. You battled rivals, escaped humans, and became fear itself. And now, you rest, not as prey, not as predator, but as legend. And now, let your mind drift back beneath the canopy, where the air is thick with mist, and the distant croak of frogs fades into the night. You are no longer moving. You don't have to. You're lying beneath that moss-covered log, body half submerged, the water cool against your belly, your jaw resting gently on a patch of lichen that's known your weight for years. The jungle breathes around you, not as threat, not as test, but as a part of you and you of it. There is no need to hide anymore. No rush, no hunger gnawing at your insides. The moon glides overhead, filtering through the leaves like spilled milk over green glass. Crickets sing, the water laps gently at your scales, and for the first time in a long, long while, you feel peace. Your memories are soft now, blurry coils of light and sound. That first escape from your siblings, the bird you swallowed whole, the jaguar you evaded in the reeds, the time you lay inches from a human boot, invisible, breath held, not moving, the slow, creeping transformation from hunted to hunter to myth, all of it, fading now, not forgotten, just quiet. So rest here, sink into the dream of the forest, let the vines curl gently around your story. You've earned this stillness, you've earned this ending. Sleep, giant, sleep, ancient coil of power and pain. The jungle is yours now, forever.